There you have it. Now you know how to push your Python automations into a VPS. FinTech family, how are ya? Today we are back for the third and final video in the Python automations in the cloud series. In the first video, we set up the PostgreSDB. We got our automations running locally. The second video, we set up our VPS and we hardened it with our automated bash scripts. And then in the third video here, we're going to be pushing all of our automations in our database locally here up into the VPS, setting up the cron jobs on the VPS and getting everything running. So let's jump right in. All right, if you haven't seen the first two videos, it's probably going to be helpful to watch. I have two Git bash windows up over here. If you're on Mac terminal, it should be pretty much the same. If you're on PC, you can install Git bash. I have a video on that. I think it was the Flask database video where I install Git bash. Here in this top window is going to be just locally here on my PC. And then here on the bottom is going to be the server. So essentially the first part of what we're looking to do, we're trying to take this folder sector performance and move it up to our VPS. You can see all of the different files that are in that folder here. And then here is our VPS. We're going to go ahead and enter. If you want to skip all these steps, you can. You could just git clone from GitHub here into your VPS. That'll put the files there. I'll have the library up by the time you watch this video, but we're going to do it the hard way because we want to learn something. All right, so I just made a folder here and I've navigated to the directory. So this is where I probably would do the git clone if I were you. However, what we're going to do is locally, we're going to use this command to create a tar file or a GZ file. I don't know. We're going to do, I don't know what you call them, but we're going to make it tarball.gz. I'm not sure. Okay, so here locally, we're just going to ran this command here and you can see it created this. Then we want to move this to our VPS. However, in this command scp, we're going to need to add the port information. All right, so here's the scp command I'm going to use. We've specified our port. We've pointed to the file. Here's our username, our IP, and then here's the destination of the new folder that I created for this project. Lightning fast. Okay, now let's go back to our file. So before I did the transfer here, you can tell there was nothing in the folder. Then after the transfer, here's what's in the folder. Now we want to unarchive this. So let's use this command here to unarchive. And then let's use this rm command to just remove the file. Awesome. So now that we check the folder, you can see all of the different files that are now in the folder. And then we can remove the tar file. Okay, we cleaned it up and it's looking nice. So if we look for all files, you can see that there's a couple hidden files. These are from the Mac. You might not need those, so you can just get rid of them with this rm. Okay, great. So while we're here, what we can do is just set up our Python environment. We're going to run these three commands to create the virtual environment, boot it up, and then install our requirements.txt file. Okay, great. Now I'm just going to, forgot the R flag. Okay, great. It's going to install the requirements.txt. We'll let that run. And then when you're done, you can just deactivate it. So then here, what we're going to do next, migrate our local DB to the VPS. However, if you don't want to do this, and if you just set up a DB in the VPS, you can run the file and it'll populate it. So it's not like we had a bunch of very sensitive information. This project kind of overwrites every single time it runs. So it's not like we're losing a bunch of historical data. But it's good to just kind of see how to do this. One way to do this, if you needed to move a database from your computer into the VPS. All right, I just deactivated the environment here and I'm trying to figure out how to copy paste in Git bash. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. Okay, I'm the greatest programmer alive to do paste in Git bash. It's Control-Shift-Insert. Okay, so to dump our local database file, we can use this command here on Mac terminal, and then here in Git bash, you can use this command. Now, this is not secure. You don't want to pass your password like on a command line argument. Use something like pgpass. Look it up. I'm just using this for brevity. I'm the only one using these servers. So this is going to get you to dump your SQL file, and you can see the file here. Next, we want to copy it to a VPS. So we're going to use a similar command that we did previously. So here's the command SCP. We have our port, and then we have our file, and then we have our destination on the VPS. So this is from our computer to the VPS. Okay, great. So we're back in the VPS. Let's just take a look and see if we got our file. Look, there's the database file. So now what we'll do is we'll just start our PostgreSQL, check the status. Green on the screen, baby, you know what I mean? So then what we want to do next, we want to access Postgres, create the DB, create the user. We're going to grant some privileges, and then we're going to restore the dump and remove the file. Sweet. So now that I'm logged in as Postgres, I'm just going to paste all the commands. Look, so maybe since we already did all of this work already, it was in our VPS set up. When you take your time and don't do it right, you're going to come up against errors. So I'm going to go line by line. Great. I ran the create command. We already have it. I ran the dev user command. We already have it. I granted the privileges. Maybe that already, it was a thing into the database. So we are connected. It's not sexy. It's not sexy. Okay, so I ran all of those line by line. Now let's see if we can dump. Okay, again, I think we made just a similar mistake here, so let's just try to do this from the project folder. We gave all the privileges, so we granted all the privileges manually, and then when we ran this command again here, we specified the correct folder instead of trying to write to root because we actually are a secondary user. Here, we specified to use this file. This is where it went through and it worked because previously we didn't see any create table commands, etc. That's when the backup was restored into the new database. It did give us some warnings, so a little bit of issues and not the cleanest. You can use this command to connect to Postgres, and then you can connect to the database as the user that you're connected with. So you can use this /DT to list some information here. You can see our table, and then if you do select star from stock data, and you can see it has the information from the dump. So we know that that worked. So now our database is set up, but now we want to run the automation script. So we can see that the last update was from the 24th at around 9:15. So let's keep that in mind. I just send exit to get out, and now I'm back in the project folder. Now that we've done all that, let's just remove the dump file. So if we look at all files, including the hidden files, you'll see I have a .env file. So if you need to create a .env file, you can use this command to open up a nano editor, and you can create your .env file. You're going to need the database URL, which is similar to what I showed you in the first video when we set up the database URL. And then you're also going to need your Polygon API key or whatever other data service that you're using. So this checklist makes everything real easy. So now that we've done all that setup, let's just try to run the script. So what you're seeing here is like, hey, it didn't recognize pandas. Well, that's because we're not inside the virtual environment. So let's restart our virtual environment because I took us out. Use this command here. That looks good. Now let's try to run the Python script. All right, so it appears to be working. Let's let it run. Didn't recognize psychopg2. Didn't recognize psychopg2, so let's just quickly pip install it. Now I'm a little confused. I thought it was part of our requirements.txt, but maybe there was an issue with it. It looks fine. I'm not sure. But now that we've done it, let's just run it. Okay, so now that that's done, you can see it's successfully upserted our records, and then we have an updated data as of close of business today. And then here we are. Looks like the time zone's probably a bit off, but I think it's fine. So I checked the time zones, and here local time, is there. However, when I'm looking at the timestamp that was put in our database, it looks more in line with this universal time. Keep that in mind. So the next, we're going to create a cron entry to run this automatically. It's going to follow this format here. We have the scheduling, so this is the first characters here. We have our Python location and then our script location. That's the basics of your cron entry. You can go to cron tab guru to get familiar with how to create cron expressions, and you can see them here, and you can try out different intervals. For testing purposes, you could do it every 5 minutes, and then maybe if you're running this, you do it every day at 4:30, Monday through Friday. So to find your Python path, you can use this which Python command. It'll give you this value here. Then you can use real path here. It'll give you your folder path. So you'll need both of those to input here. And then what you don't see in the back of this file here is all of your output is directed into the log file here. So once this runs, we'll see everything gets appended to the existing log file, or if there's not a log file, then it will create one. So what we'll do to open our cron editor, we will go cron tab E. It's going to let us select an editor. So I'm just going to choose Nano. Here, I'll just go to the bottom with the down arrow. And so I pasted, here is it, but I need to change this to home and then the username, the secondary username. So that should get us most of the way there. I think I'll also need to add home and then secondary username. And one last thing I wouldn't want to forget is for our output location, just to adjust that. So we want to adjust that in all the different spots. And then I think that'll do it. So when I do Control X to exit, Y for yes, and then enter. So what I'll do now, quickly look for the log files, which don't exist. Now we can see here is our cron output. Let's take a look. And we can see the upsert was successful. So there our automation is running on a schedule now. And there you have it. Now you know how to push your Python automations into a VPS so your computer can do all the hard work while you're hanging out at the beach. Now we covered a lot in that video series, from setting up that Postgres database, running the Python automations locally on a schedule, setting up a VPS using the bash automations, and then pushing everything into the cloud. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.